Hey guys, how are you all doing? Welcome back to another episode of Market Mastery in the long format. Few things happening at the moment in the crypto space, which is really exciting. Mainly, the big news is about the Ethereum ETFs. So we're gonna have a quick look at Ethereum and take a look at everything happening in that space right now. I think the most important thing to understand is that this actually did come as a bit of a shock to most in the market. Obviously, there was a few people who were diehard Ethereum fans that thought that, it was definitely going to happen anyway. I was not expecting the Biden government to do a massive backflip on their stance towards crypto. I believe they really didn't want to do this because Senator Warren has been definitely I shouldn't say definitely, but most likely getting paid under the table to fight against the crypto industry and try and suppress any sort of growth in the industry in the US as much as possible. Probably, by the rest of the big banking partners because they see it as a threat to their business. But they've done a massive backflip on that because the Democrat stance was definitely anti-crypto, and the Republicans have become more and more positive crypto over the last few years, that's for sure. And then the other day, Trump came out, and so did RFK, came out very heavily backing the crypto industry. And that's forced the Biden government and the Democrats, who actually split away from their party lines for the first time, I think, in this whole 4-year presidency for the Democrats, to vote alongside the Republicans to take away crypto regulation from the SEC and give more power to the houses of government in DC. So the House of Representatives and the Senate, and also the White House, the presidency, and take that away from Gensler and the SEC because they've done such a bad job with it. And I do believe that they've given more power now to the CFTC. So we're going to see what ends up happening over the next few months, that's for sure. And then obviously it's going to be a huge impact on the industry who gets into power at the end of the year. But to me, it looks like that both parties are now being forced because there's a huge voter base now of people that hold cryptocurrency, and also because of it's becoming a more mainstream product now with the ETFs and everything like that being approved with Bitcoin ETF for short, sort of forced their hand because there are so many holders and people with influential powers these days in the US. And people need those votes, that's for sure. So I think it's great for the industry as a whole, and the direction that we're going in is extremely bullish. And that's why I can't understand why people are saying, it's looking like, this potentially could be a cycle top when you have Trump just the other day, who is probably going to win the presidential election at the end of the year. Whatever, you believe about him, if you don't like him or you do like him, all the polls are saying that most likely he's going to win, right? So it's massive, I think, for our industry that he's coming out and saying that he wants, crypto to be, or the US to be the #1 crypto country on the planet, and they're going to support the growth of the cryptocurrency industry. And the US has to be #1 in fostering the industry and helping it grow and expand. And I think that is just absolutely massive because the entire time the industry has been around, we've been actively being suppressed by politicians. So, to have the front runner for the presidential race this year, it's not that far away anymore, only about 6 months or something like that now. I think exactly 6 months and a few days, which will go by very, very quickly, coming out in massive support of, things like, it'll be things like crypto mining, you might get protections and stuff like that. And subsidies potentially as well. So there might be a whole heap of different things, but potentially opening up for other people, people in the US to have more access to be able to buy different types of coins, more regulation, clarity around things, protections of things, cryptocurrency tokens and stuff like that, being all registered as commodities and not registered as securities. That would be absolutely massive as well. So, and I just give a lot more freedom to people to be able to buy things and have access to things, and also for exchanges to be able to operate more freely as well and onboard a lot more customers. So just in all means a lot more growth for the entire industry. But let's go and have a look at some of the key charts that I'm watching right now. And I'll be able to explain to you what I'm thinking right now and how, these developments could affect the marketplace. So Ethereum, which was looking really, really sorry for itself until, the backflip that caused this 20% move versus BTC. So Ethereum holders definitely need to be thanking the Democrat Party for bailing them out, because otherwise I think, this was definitely going to be coming back to about 0.04, which would have been an amazing entry for Ethereum. We still haven't particularly broken out of this key level through here just yet. I do have this trend line on the line of best fit at the moment, but you could easily draw this from the wicks and be holding this out here as well. So definitely you could make a decent argument that we have a little bit further to go until we get a proper breakthrough. I usually draw trend lines to the furthermost outside candle closes, and then I'm looking for a candle close through that level, and we haven't seemed to manage that yet. So what I am watching for is, this is a weekly order block through here, which has been a pretty significant level through the chart for multiple years now. And I just want to see if, Ethereum versus BTC can actually break above this level. And that's about 0.058 above there. If we could get some sort of action like this and then a push from there, that would be really nice, and maybe fill this gap up to 0.07. But obviously Ethereum is starting to play catch up. It's been the most underperforming asset, and the entire Ethereum space has been massively underperforming to things like Solana, for example, which has basically just been sucking all the energy from the Ethereum ecosystem. And all the ETH maxis have been crying about it all year. But at the end of the day, Ethereum is having a really big push right now. I think Ethereum will continue to outperform things like Solana. It'll probably continue to outperform BTC for a little while. And we could see, potentially getting back up to 0.7 or something like that over the next couple of months. But then I think after that initial hype and initial buying power of people, institutions finally getting access to that Ethereum, the, bid that they want to get, I'm not really that overly excited about the future for Ethereum past that, because Solana has been dramatically winning for this entire first part of the cycle. Yes, Ethereum will take over for a little bit, but then I think what happens when Solana gets its ETF? People are just going to go back to, Solana will just go back to outperforming Ethereum. And like, let's be honest, if we have a look at the ETH chart, we're almost at 4,000 already, right? So, a really strong push here can easily take Ethereum to 5,000, 5,200 probably. I think the max this cycle for Ethereum, like if we're really honest about it, is probably around $1,000. Sorry, probably around $10,000, right? That would be a pretty big move. And I think, the hard cap of that psychological level of $10,000 makes a fair amount of sense to me. So it's about 150% move from here. Whereas even though Solana's had a crazy move already from its lows, because it's just so oversold, and it's about 800% up already from the bottom of, you take the very, very bottom of the FTX crash, it's up almost 2,000%. I still think that this easily can run to like $500 or $750, right? So, from current prices right now, if this runs to $500, that's about a 200% move. If it runs to 750, it's about a 350% move, where, those are probably like the two most popular targets for Solana, is that 500, 750 zone. Whereas, most people talking about Ethereum, I'm not seeing many people sort of putting targets above 1,000, which, from current prices puts it about 150, 160% move. So, for me, I'm still more comfortable holding Solana, even though I know short term here, it's probably going to underperform versus Ethereum. But, rest of the cycle, I think it's going to outperform. And, there's no reason for me to sell, which triggers a taxable event. And then you're going to have to pay tax on that and then rotate that money into Ethereum. Then, I don't want to be holding Ethereum for the whole cycle, have to sell that and then rotate back into Solana later on. So yeah, if I do want to try and catch this play, I think the smart play to use, is just, use my unified leverage account and just hold the spot coins that I'm holding and catch these moves on a leverage trade, right? So I'm not having to sell any spot to then rotate through and cause those taxation events, but I can still capture, you know, a really nice move here by Ethereum, and, you know, ride that wave up with all the ETH heads that are super excited about it. And, you know, just cash out of that trade when I'm happy with the growth that it's had, right? So that's the sort of way that I'm thinking about playing this move. The breakout here of this level above 0.05 is probably the key area that's going to trigger that outperformance versus Bitcoin. And then I'd be looking for that rally up to 0.07. The only thing is, I think if Ethereum starts pushing really aggressively, that's going to drag Bitcoin up to probably about 83 pretty quickly, and then potentially all the way up to 100K. So that's the main thing I'm looking here for at Bitcoin at the moment. So, you know, if you've been following my other updates that I've been posting on Instagram and in the Discord group and on Facebook and stuff like that, we nailed this bottom here a couple of weeks ago at the start of May when we were talking about the potential reversal of the developing yearly VWAP, right? So that was the dip buy, became a really obvious setup. You know, a lot of people wouldn't have been looking at this level because it's just sort of like in the middle of nowhere. But we were all across it because not that many people have this type of indicator set up where they're looking at the developing yearly VWAP and, you know, trying to take trades off the value area highs, etc. So, you know, the rule is when you come down and you retest the value area, the yearly VWAP, if you get a strong reaction and bounce off that, then you're looking for a rotation to retest the value area high. And it's usually a strong signal that you're going to break out again, like what we did back here when we broke out and then go into markup again. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. I'm not loving this vision right now too much on Bitcoin. We have struggled to get out of, you know, into new all-time highs and push into price discovery. This was a really nice VWAP to range high of this, you know, total range trade, and that was the target that we were looking for. So we hit target one, which was at this point here at 67, and target two was this high up here at 71.6. And so we nailed our two targets, took profit of those. Now we're waiting for the next setup, right? So potentially this is going to come down and back inside the developing yearly value area high, right? Which is sitting at the moment at 86,500. If we do get that, then there's a potential short entry setup here. But just need to be careful that we aren't just breaking back out the top of this again, right? So that's the short entry setup. If we do roll over, looking for an inside break, and then we're looking, you know, potentially back down to range lows and retest this order block here at 61, 62, or, you know, potential rotation back down to test the developing yearly VWAP again. What I am thinking is most likely going to happen, though, is that we chop around here for a little while, right, like this, and put in some sort of another bull flag. I'm not sure how deep this is going to go. I would like it to hold above this level here, right, because I think this is a bit of a key level through the middle of this range. So I would want to see that hold. At the moment, my main theory is that this is a reaccumulation schematic, and we've just had, you know, this is our range low here, and we've just had our dip below the range low for our spring, reclaim that range low, right, and hold through here. And then we've had a nice push up to range high, right? Now we're seeing that that's a sign of strength. And now we're seeing that last point of supply as market comes into that pullback, right? And it's our last backup action before we get ready to chop around and break out. So typically when you're in this sign of strength type action, what you get is bull flag type action. So we want to see, you know, these nice high bull flags, which would give us an indication that there's not that much selling. There's not much selling pressure. And the main volume, which we can see here, is all coming on the big up candles, right? So we can see here on the way down, all the selling was coming, all the big volume was coming on the down candles, right? All the highest volume was coming out of the down candles for pretty much the entire range. And then all of a sudden it flips. And now what we can see is that the highest volume now is coming on our up candles, right? So we want to see that continue, right? So just a bit of volume analysis here. So we want to see the effort and the pushes coming on the high volume days when the market moves to the upside. That helps give us a little bit of an insight into what the bigger players are doing, because they can hide themselves in the chart, but what they can't do is they can't hide themselves from the volume, because when they come into play, we will see them show up on the volume. Okay. So what I want to see here is the market chop sideways for a little bit, give us a really nice high bull flag type action, and then we want to clear this level and make it into new highs. So a good signal would be a break back above the wick of the 9. That's the typical continuation signal for the Thomas DeMark system, right? So a break above the 9 here would be a pretty good sign. But realistically, because this is the setup that the 9 is actually below the 8, I'm not a huge fan of it. So it's a little bit of an inclination if we can get above 70, obviously round number as well. It's about 70.5. But if we can actually get a break and close above the 8 here, that's going to be a really good sign for continuation. So I want to see a candle closing above pretty much 72K. And that'll be a really good signal that we're getting ready and prepared for a run to 83. Then, we're sort of moving now into a pretty strong price discovery. So I would expect some sort of a consolidation sideways action happen there, and then a pretty quick move up to the 1.618 of our macro fib, which is the next target in line. And that's pretty much at 100K. So those are the main things I'm just looking for there on BTC, right? We've already talked about Solana, but I think this is gearing up. It might have another pullback down to 136 or whatever, but I think this is gearing up for a push to 260 soon at least, which would be a nice welcome, because we have been going sideways for a long, long time. And I think we're definitely getting to, the sticky end of these ranges that we've been in, like the Bitcoin range. We've been in this range now for 90 days. This range that we were back in here before we finally broke out of it, that was about 67 days. This was a bit of a weird range, but it was sort of like an accumulation vertical type range that went for about 38 days. I mean, you could say that this was one long entire range. It was like 213 days. That one just seemed like it last forever. But, we did have 2 moves inside that. So this was about 90 days, 95 days total until we, got that move from that falling wedge. So it's sort of like, similar to this setup back here, which, actually was about the same time period, of, we're talking about seasonality here of the year. So, the range sort of started 20th of May, 18th of May, and, we got the breakout of the falling wedge around the 16th of June. So, this one sort of started the start of March. Maybe we get the breakout of this range, sometime early June, and we finally get that push up to 83K. So that's what I'm looking at the moment. There's 2 Fibonacci targets here as well. So we'll get the macro 1.272, and then we also have the 0.272, and that is just measured from this low here up to the high of this last push that we had from mid-Jan up to the 15th of March. Okay, so just a few other altcoins that we've sort of been tracking. NEAR, I've been liking the look of. This had a really strong recovery from lows back here and made a much higher low through here compared to the rest of the market that came back down and made new lows. So higher low, and we're back in that nice uptrend. Probably want to see this trend line through here hold. And I wouldn't mind seeing just this play out as some sort of a bull flag and then push. I don't really want to see it come back. There is a bit of an inverse head and shoulders here. I don't really want to see this trend line break and it break back below 7.6, but I wouldn't be surprised if this does start to make a move. If the rest of the market does decide to push, we're looking for the 0.272 here at $10, pretty much 80, and then $13 I think is the main target at the moment for NEAR. But this easily could roll over, if Bitcoin and the rest of the market does, and we could be looking for a short entry off the backflip of the neckline through there. So just need to be careful, because these could all continue to range out for the rest of this season and really take us into August, maybe start of September, before the market starts to pick up. So just need to be careful that we're not going to end up sideways for a long time. Link has had a nice push over the last couple of weeks, actually 45% push. back up to $18 and sort of like capped out there. That was a key weekly level as well. So let's see if it can reclaim that level and make its push finally to test $28, which is the next weekly high. Aave had a little bit of a catch-up play just to fill in, the FVGs through here from the dump candles. Right, so that had a nice little move. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see, some more catch-up plays like from INJ as well to come back up and reclaim this range low through here. But, obviously the whole market moves as one. We're going to need Bitcoin to break out of 72K and start to push for all this sort of stuff to happen. So I think the main play to think about here is things the Ethereum ecosystem are going to be favored, especially if, we can break out of, this key weekly order block through here and out of this downtrend and reclaim 0.058, right? So I'm looking for things that are, sort of a bunch of the layer twos for Ethereum. So LDO's just had a really nice push. That might now go into some sort of a bull flag, right? And then push again. So that could be a nice re-entry soon on a reaccumulation on the lower timeframes. OP hasn't really moved that much yet, but I would like to see this level here get taken out and not to drop that. So if we do reclaim that, I don't want to see that break down. And that would give us, a nice sort of, continued uptrend with higher highs and higher lows. And we hold that trend support to the upside. And then Arbitrum as well, I think, has had a nice little move, but look at this sell-off from Arb. Like that is just absolutely outrageous. And this is just because everybody was moving across to Solana. Like it had a nice run and, then, there was a little bit of weakness in the market and it just got absolutely destroyed and had a 60% pullback. I mean, from the highs up here to the low here, it was a 64% move. That's in the middle of the cycle. It's almost like a full market cycle just in itself. So, crazy moves there. But I think coins like Arbitrum, like they're only just so new. Like these things can when we finally get an altcoin season, Ethereum pumps to 10K, like these sort of coins can go absolutely nuts. I think, ARB and, if base eventually gets its own token, can be valued, pretty highly. These are still pretty low market cap coins at the moment. So yeah, definitely ones to keep our eye on, those new Ethereum coins. I think Manta is another one, we can look at as well that have sort of just like, listed and sort of, chopped around a little bit and done nothing. Definitely worth keeping our eye on those ones. Coins like MAV as well, which had huge sell-offs. When the Ethereum ecosystem really starts to pop off, or when Ethereum starts to pop off, that's going to drag up the rest of the ETH ecosystem. It's the same as when, Solana was pumping really hard, and then Jupiter and Ray and everything like that had those really big rallies as well to play catch up. So that's basically the main things that I'm looking at the moment in the altcoin space. So that's pretty much it. If you've got any comments or anything you want to know, questions, etc., feel free to drop them below in the comment section. I'll try to get to them. Okay, thanks a lot for that, guys, and we'll see you all in the next episode.